Welcome to Vernon SnowMX and let's ride. In this episode, we're going to be covering a review of the 2017 Yeti Long Track Limited Edition.
We sure are, and maybe before we get to the kit, let's talk quickly about the company. Yeti's a Canadian company. They've been around since 2013. We saw them for the first time last year at the Snow Show, and we were pretty blown away by what we saw.
It's amazing we didn't just throw our money at them and buy one right then and there.
It's against our nature.
Oh, right. We had a little bit of restraint. We waited till this year.
We did. We waited. And to our surprise, actually, this year is their 5th generation kit. So these guys are really on the roll for product improvement, which is pretty cool to see. As far as the construction of the kit's concerned, we've got, of course, carbon fiber. It's the mainstay of the kit. It's also packed with lots of aluminum and titanium.
Right. You know that initially one of our reservations was, what happens if we break that carbon fiber tunnel hitting a boulder or a stump? When you break it, because you break everything. He's a #1 test dummy for all things. And carbon fiber is really strong. We know that. But what Yeti's done to really take away the consumer's fear of purchasing a very expensive toy, be it carbon fibers, they have a replacement program. It's no questions asked. If you biff your tunnel off something and break it, no questions asked, $1,000 Canadian, $700 US, and you get a brand new tunnel. So you just got to do the swippy swap.
Feel free to taco. So let's start with the kit. Let's walk around to the back of the bike and have a look. And this thing is beautiful. There's no doubt about it. One thing that we've really noticed with this long track is the flotation that we have. It's fantastic in the backcountry. Absolutely.
We used to ride short tracks, and we're both thrilled to be on long tracks now, at least for our mountain riding.
Yes.
If we take a look at the jerry can that we have, it's in a really cool position. It's different than the timber sled. It's tucked up underneath the seat, attached to the track, and it's huge. It holds 15 liters. I don't know how we're going to use all that gas. That'd be a long day, and I think our arms and legs would be falling off.
Absolutely.
I think on a big day, we'd be using about half that jerry can. We do find that the Yeti is more fuel efficient as well, and maybe that's due to that belt drive. So now if we look back, we're going to see that there's a really cool rack system on this bike. It's attached to the carbon fiber. It's made for a Yeti, and it's on a quick release system, so you can take it out if you don't need it. It's also really long, like it's got to be 18 inches long, so you could attach all kinds of different stuff. Really versatile,
yeah. Let your imagination go with what you can hook to that thing.
Right now, we have a really nifty tunnel bag attached to it. It's made for sleds or snow bikes. It's by Giant Loop, the same guys who make those Mojave bags that we like so much. It holds, I think, 37 liters.
Yep.
It's super light, and it's been really versatile for us.
It's called the Torngat, if you guys are wanting to look it up.
Yeah, it's a hard one to remember.
Yeah.
Unique name, but we certainly like the product, and we're going to do a proper review of that later this season. Moving on, rear suspension.
Yeah, let's have a quick chat about that. This handy little switch that we see when we flip this switch forward, if we're heading up the trail into the mountains, it gives us in excess of 20 inches of travel in the rear end. And if you're traveling on a whipped out trail section, it's a really plush ride. It's a really nice feature to have.
It really decreases your fatigue as well. Like sometimes we have to drive in 20 kilometers on the trail to get in. You go have all your fun, then you got to get out 20 more kilometers. So with that suspension, it really takes away some of the fatigue in your legs. I really appreciate that. Moving around a bit further, we have the belt drive system, which is really cool to look at, and it's very efficient as well. We're finding that, we've read online, that belt drives are up to 30% more efficient than chain drives. And we feel it in that track. So if you put our two different bikes head to head and you smash the gas, I think that Yeti is quite a bit more responsive.
Well, we've done tests and drag races, and it just continuously comes
unofficial, like let's race right now. Yeah. But it does seem to work very nicely.
Guinness book wasn't there to watch us do it. No.
The other thing about the belt drive, and maybe it's the track, is that cool hum that the Yeti has. At first I was kind of like, what's going on? Is there something wrong? I got off the bike and looked underneath. Is there something that's rubbing that shouldn't be? But it's not. It's supposed to be like that. It's got a really cool hum, and when you hop on the Yeti, it's really something. It's the sound of fun.
It's kind of like a hovercraft.
It is. And that's it for the track. Let's move around to the front of the ski.
Sounds good.
Let's talk about the ski on this fine Yeti. It's a very responsive and confidence-inspiring ski. So by that I mean when you turn the handlebars, it never feels like it's going to wash out. It turns right away. Like there's no hesitation at all.
It sticks.
And I really appreciate that. I think it's the best ski I've ever ridden. On the trail, we already know that it's a great ski on the trail and on that hard pack. It's very playful in the trees as well. It's confidence inspiring. When you're ripping around through those tight trees, you come around a corner and there's something that you don't expect and you got to make a quick turn. It doesn't require much body language to get the whole sled to move. And it's just fantastic in the trees.
I have a tendency to crash from time to time, as maybe some of the viewers may know. And when we get into the tight stuff, if I'm going too fast, I get a little panicky. And I do find with this ski, it's a real point and shoot situation. I don't ever question if the bike is going to follow where I want it to go, where we've seen with some other kits. Sometimes it washes out. Sometimes there's a delay from when you want to start turning to when the kit actually starts to turn. Never the case on this Yeti.
And I know that because we have one of the other kits and I come around the corner and I see you sprawled out.
Sometimes.
across the snow. The other thing I really like about this ski, and I've never ridden another snow bike with it, is that the ski is very playful in that when you get into a clearing or somewhere that's a little bit more open, I go back to my skiing mentality of doing some nice powder turns back and forth, and maybe I come back and close my eights, or you're behind me trying to close the eights, but it's hard when you're not on another Yeti. It's very playful that way. I have a lot of fun when I hop on other snow bikes and try to do the same thing. I just don't get into it. It's just not really in the
Yeti kit really makes you want to turn the bike. It makes you want to play with it and explore with it more than what we've seen with the other kits.
Absolutely. And if you think about skiing, I don't want to belabor this point too much, but it really is a plus for me. When you go skiing, you don't go just to go straight. And when we're following a lot of snow bikers, they're going across this field and up this way, and their paths are really quite straight. When I'm on the Yeti in particular, when I hit one of those areas, I'm doing as many turns as I can. Huge grin on my face.
Let's smash that powder.
That's right.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about installation of this kit. Now, we are the proud owners of, I believe, 2 pipe wrenches, a hammer, and some duct tape. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're qualified to install these things.
No, far from it.
And we don't want to anyway. We spend all of our time in the back country, a long ways from the truck. And we take everything into Ian at Rider's Edge. He does a great job for us. But he has told us if we are looking to see time required for installs and whatnot, the Yeti does take longer. It's a little more finicky to set up, and it's a little more time consuming to get it ready to go. And
isn't that even more true with the RRS shock? I think I recall him saying something about that.
Absolutely. So again, more setup required. And this really comes back to the cost of ownership, guys. We're spending more on this kit out of the gates to buy it, but we're also going to spend more when it comes to our time or to our mechanics' time getting the bike ready to go.
That's right. Now that actually leads us into our maintenance section quite nicely. Let's talk about that. So between rides, you're the guy who does the light checkups. Tell us what you're doing on the Yeti in particular.
Checking the kit for cracks, loose bolts and nuts, checking belt and chain tension, and lubing chain. And for the kit, that's about all I do.
Now, every 5 or 6 rides, we go in for maintenance, and that's to drop the oil. Ian does a front-to-back checkup on the bikes, and one of the things he checks is the brake pads. So this is a Yeti brake pad, or a brake pad off of Yeti. It's not manufactured by them. But this was worn out after 24 hours of actual engine time, and that equates to about 17 or 18 rides, or 15 rides. I can't remember exactly how much. Now, it's not completely thundered yet, but it's close. Ian said this would not make it through our next service interval, so that's fine. Replace it. It's not an expensive item, but we rode 3 years on a timber sled and never replaced these once. And it wasn't that we were neglecting them. They just didn't need it.
That's right.
So this is not an expensive piece, but this leads more to that cost of ownership thing that you were alluding to earlier. Replacing a brake pad on a timber sled takes about 5 minutes. Replacing one on a Yeti takes about an hour. So you're right in there inside the guts of the machine, doing something that's a little bit more intensive.
Yeah, it's hidden for sure.
And for those of you who are wrenching at home, some of the things you're going to have to do on your Yeti require special tools. So that's something to keep in mind. Like you have to go to Yeti to get the tool. And then finally, if you're going to have other people wrenching on your machines, it's just going to take a little bit more time for some of these things. So it's a higher end product. It's beautiful and everything's nicely tucked away, but that translates to a little bit more maintenance time. You need to be aware of that. Let's talk about Yeti as a company. There are 2 principals that I'm aware of, Jamie and Kevin. They're both very approachable, and I think this is really important. When you're buying an expensive toy in particular, you want it to be, it's your baby. And whenever things don't work out or you have a question, you want to be able to pick up the phone or crack open an email and reach the guys who can really give you answers. And I can tell you that they've been incredibly responsive to us. Super great guys to work with. They're a small, nimble company. I think that's a big key to their success. And I think it's going to be something that really helps propel them into being a very major brand.
Agreed.
In this arena. Love the guys at Yeti.
So let's take a look at who should be buying this kit. Who's the buyer of a Yeti? And it really comes down to the people that want the best of the best.
This is a high-end product in the marketplace, and in that particular niche market, I would say that it's better for that intermediate to advanced rider. And there's a reason for this. A beginner can absolutely ride a Yeti. That's not a problem. But remember, you're buying the most expensive track kit on the market. Yep. It's a high-end piece of gear. It's got a higher cost of ownership. If you're new to snowbiking, truthfully, you don't know if you're going to like it as much as you think you're going to. Or maybe you underestimated the amount of times that you're going to be able to get out. If you only go out 5 times a year, that is a very expensive toy to be having. And then finally, if you're riding with a bunch of sledders and that's your history, they might not move over to snowbiking yet. And snowbikers and sledders, it doesn't mix.
They don't mix at all.
We're in the trees that only godlike people could ride on snowmobiles.
Yeah, and even then it'd be touch.
It would be tricky. So that's why we say really good for intermediate to advanced riders so you know what they're into, or people who are brand new at snowbiking and just can't wait to
gobs of cash.
Bye-bye.
And also racers, we don't want to forget about those guys. We've heard some pretty interesting reviews. Now, we don't spend any time at the track and don't really have any interest in that, but the guys that are racing have been informing us that the Yeti on the track is a monster. And I think it comes back to that lightweight carbon fiber, the belt drive system, the spool up, the power getting to the track, and the reviews have been pretty fantastic so far.
And we have one more point to make on this one. Just looking over at our cheat sheet, which is right below the camera, you wanted me to talk. You weren't sure about this next thing. Go ahead and introduce it.
You do. Scott makes a point here that we're comparing a Porsche and a pickup truck, and I think that if I were just
the Porsche being the Yeti,
that's
and what's the pickup truck?
The other kits.
All the other kits. Mostly it's timber sled, but there are other kits as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think some people could take offense to that, and I think maybe you should step up and.
I need to defend my position a little bit. Okay, I don't want to
it.
create any haters out there, and we love riding timber sleds. We haven't tried any of the other kits yet, but I think this is a Porsche versus pickup truck comparison here. Porsches are expensive. They're beautiful. They're works of art. That's what this Yeti is. And they have a higher cost of ownership. When you buy a high-end luxury car, a sports car in particular, you got to know that the parts are going to cost more, the wrenching time is going to cost more, and all that stuff. And whereas a pickup truck, although it can be visually appealing, it's in a sort of different macho Camacho sort of way. It's going to get you there. And it's reliable. It's reliable, and it's going to get you there, and it's maybe easier to fix, lower cost of ownership. So that's all that I really meant. There's the visual comparison between the two, but there's also kind of the cost of ownership comparison between the two. So don't hate me.
And that kind of brings us to the point in the conversation where we want to talk a little bit about where we buy these kits. And we buy all of our stuff. We bought the Yeti, we bought the timber sled from Chad at INNERSPACE WATERSPORTS here in Vernon. He also has a store in Kelowna.
And this is a great place to think about getting your snowbike, no matter what type it is. Well, if it's a timber sled or a Yeti, because he carries both of those. There are a lot of shops around that are just newcomers to this whole new sport, where Chad was he was ground zero for BC, and that's why he's the #1 retailer. And we're doing this out of a favor, not to Chad, but to our viewers, just saying he knows the bikes. He has a fleet of bikes that he runs, 350s, 450s, 500s. He takes people out on tours. He runs short tracks, long tracks, the skiddy racing tracks. He knows the stuff, and he can help people get hooked up with the right steed that they need and the right kit based on where you're going to ride and how aggressively you're going to be riding.
And he has crazy saddle time too. He spent more time in the seat than probably anybody we know outside of professional riders.
I don't know anybody else who kind of gets paid or makes time to play as much as he does. So he's really a great resource that way.
You knew that was gonna happen. coming.
I think we can wrap up this video now.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for participating, or at least watching our video here. We hope you participate in the way of leaving comments. We also would encourage you to go to our website. So it's at vernonsnowmx.com. And there we have all of our videos, but we also have a bunch of articles that you just won't see on YouTube. Like we have a recent video from Search and Rescue, an article from Search and Rescue, a couple of articles from Ian about building power and snow bikes and temperature management, all that kind of stuff. So check us out at vernonsnowmx.com. We will have a few more videos this year for you. Can't remember what they're going to be.
They'll be good,
Probably haven't even decided yet.
They're going to be good.
Stay tuned, subscribe to us, and thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.